Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. We are getting ready to put down the adhesive for our Lonseal flooring, and we're going to go through everything step by step. We'll do a live install at the end of this video, but I wanted to show you about the beginning parts as far as prep goes. So the first thing here that you guys see, we have a 100-pound linoleum roller, and this roller is what we're going to use after we apply the Lonseal. So we're going to roll it out after we apply it. And you want to make sure you get all the air bubbles out manually, so when you're actually laying down the material, so just be very careful. But this is the finishing touch to really create that nice bond. However, you're going to need this later in the day, so you're going to need to rent one of these for a whole day, because about 3 to 5 hours after you put the adhesive down, you'll need to re-roll the floor one more time. So that's why we got this roller. In a second, we're actually going to prep this roller, and I'll explain why that's important. For materials over here, we need some 3M like Scotch-Brite pads, maybe even a sanding pad, and we're going to clean this roller up with denatured alcohol, and we're going to sand it. As you can imagine, this is used for the construction industry, and I can have some nicks and some scrapes on it in the steel, and we don't want that to cut into the floor. So if there was a sharp spot and you got 100 pounds on it, that's going to cut right into your brand new floor. You don't want to do that. So by simply just taking some time, cleaning this off, cleaning the rust and everything off, and getting all the nicks out of it so it's nice and smooth, then you can just use it as is. You don't have to worry about like wrapping this with tape or anything. Next thing is we have the Lonseal. So inside this bucket is a two-part, part A and a part B. And it is an epoxy adhesive, so it's a two-part. You put the two parts together, you mix it up. To mix it, we need to use a drill, because with epoxy, everything in here is a perfect ratio. So not only do you want to make sure everything mixes, you get everything out of one bucket and everything out of the second bucket, you want to make sure you mix it very well, because that is going to make sure that the reaction that it needs to solidify is good, even, ready to go, and we want to make sure we mix it up very well. So we need to take this bucket right here, and you can have two buckets. When I first did it, I mixed it in one and then I poured it in another one, which I should have just done one. So we're going to use this 2-gallon bucket from Lowe's, and we're going to put the two-part in here, and we're going to make sure that we mix it up very well. Once we do that, this will be the bucket we're going to use to pour half on one side, half on the other side. We'll do half, we'll flip this over first. We'll trowel out half. So we need to have a U-notch trowel. So this is a U-notch trowel. It's specific to the Lonseal process. So the little grooves in here, if you've ever done tile and laid out grout before, or tile adhesive, these ridges are specific to whatever tile you're using as far as the thickness of the ridges. And so the thickness of these ridges is really important. They're very thin, but they're designed in a way to where this is going to lay down properly. So make sure you get the specific one from them. It's on their website, and no affiliation here, but I got all these materials through perfectfit.com. So here's the trowel, and then that's all the components we need. We're going to go ahead and jump right on into cleaning this roller up and keep on going with the video. So we just got some paper towels and a big old thing of denatured alcohol. And we're really just going to soak this up and just start rubbing this roller off. So we haven't even scrubbed, and that's how dirty our roller is, which is to be expected. It's a rental item. What we want to do is we want to make sure like any rocks or anything that we have is off of here. What's nice about the denatured alcohol is it's also taken off any adhesive. So as you can imagine, this is used for putting down floors. And over here on my left side, there's a ton of adhesive. So we'll just do a first cleaning, and then you can see how much dirt's on there. So next what I do is I'm just going to take this Scotch pad and I'm going to soak it in denatured alcohol. And pretty much like that. So I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to get this all cleaned up, move this out of the way, and then we'll jump on to the next part of the video. Alright, we are inside the van and I wanted to show you our next step. So we've already cleaned off our linoleum roller. It's outside, it's good to go. Now what we've done is we've already pre-cut our floor. Now this is something I would suggest that you guys do anytime you're installing a floor in your van, especially one like this, like a piece of sheet vinyl or the Lonseal, for example. You want to do this because if you have any rolled up edges on the side, and I'm going to get an example really quick. So you can imagine if we had our piece of linoleum or sheet vinyl or whatever we're doing here, if it's curved up like this, it's really going to be hard for the roller to compress, if at all, this down so you get a good adhesion with that pressure. So what you want to do is any part of the van you want to cut out against, the battery areas, maybe where your parking heater is, if you have a seat, maybe a shower pan, any protrusions into the van. So for example, this over here is for the structure of the van, but it's kind of in the way. But we need to cut around it to make sure that everything looks nice and professional. So what we want to do is, instead of this being like this and us putting the adhesive down and doing this later, we do it when it's easier to work with. Not only can we lift it up to double check what we're cutting around with the floor, but we can have this push down, and then we can actually take our piece of upholstery, in this case this habitual wagon component, and we can take this and we can actually put it down behind here and make sure we have a nice clean fit, so we're not messing with it, making it harder for ourselves later when we go to put this in. It's pretty much 99% there, and then we can just barely tweak it later if we need to. Next, we're going to make sure that we have a screw in the back end and the screw in the front end. And again, we discussed this over one of our live streams, so you can check back that. It's in the flooring live stream playlist on the YouTube channel. But that divides our floor into two parts. So this side is the side we start with. And what it allows us to do is we can simply lift this side up, roll it over when we're ready to do so. We can trowel out this left side, and then once we've troweled everything out, we can simply roll this nice and easy, minimizing our air bubbles. Just rolling this nice and gently all the way back over. And then we're set for this side. We can change to the right side of the van, and we can do the same thing. That way we can also manage our time. So with the two-part epoxy, time is kind of your enemy. It runs out very quickly. As soon as you take part A and part B and you mix them, the 30-minute countdown clock starts. So you get 30 minutes of working time. But remember, you have to mix it all up, mix it very well. Make sure you're dressed appropriately. I've got my epoxy pants on for my last floor install, which I was walking backwards and got some epoxy on it. So, think about ahead of time what you're gonna wear. You gotta get the bucket, you gotta fold the floor back, you gotta get into the van, Got to get your trowel, get into position, and then start. So that can take anywhere from, you know, maybe 5-10 minutes. So now you only have 20 minutes left. So that's 10 minutes coming down this side, and then 10 minutes coming down the other side. And you want to always have the time working in your favor. You don't want to rush. Now, you are on a time crunch, but that's why you want to do these things I'm suggesting. You know, have the 50-50 so that you can make sure you're only working 10 minutes over here, 10 minutes over here. Everything has an equal amount of time to set. But also, you can kind of practice before you get the epoxy down. So as I just did, I practiced rolling the floor back, starting from the front and coming down the back. Yeah, do a little practice run. I mean, it takes 5 minutes. Kind of know your game plan as far as how you're going to tackle it. And not to stress you out too much, but you know, you only get one chance to do it. But if you take your time, follow this video, kind of do everything step by step, it'll be the best experience that you can do with the Lonseal. So hopefully that's what you get from this video. We're going to go ahead and in this next part, we're going to open up our bucket. We'll start mixing part A and part B. We'll set our timer, and then yeah, this will be all on video for you guys to see how I do the install. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to peel back our floor. We don't want to walk on this section because we got it. It's all clean. Most of it's clean. If you see a hair or anything like that, make sure you get it out of the way. I'm probably going to need a weight to hold this down. The last floor that I did was heavier than this floor when we did Thomas's van, so let's see, you need to get something to hold this down. So again, it's all in the prep. Now for video purposes, I'm gonna mix this stuff over here. I wouldn't suggest doing that because you want to, I wouldn't do that. leave it to the professionals. But I'm doing it so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. All right, so we have a little bit of weight over here, and that's gonna help us. Let me get a little bit more weight. Let me get this DeWalt. There we go. Just so it doesn't move on us. Okay, cameras are rolling. Good. So hopefully you guys can see up there. Let's see. Yeah, we pretty much got everything here. Let me move up a little bit. All right. That's where the camera's gonna stay. You guys will get the point once I start. I'll start up front and then I'll kind of make my way back. One thing I did that's in a past live stream is I have these little pieces of tape over these holes in the floor. And these holes are where the through bolts are going through the floor to secure the pull-out slide tray. So you'll want to tape over those and then access them from the bottom up when you're ready to drill them out. The reason is we want to tape it so the epoxy is not pouring down into the hole and we're having to drill through hard epoxy. Believe it or not, you know, epoxy is pretty resilient. And we don't want that to add to our re-drilling of the hole, possibly offsetting our hole. So that's why we're doing that. We're gonna start from the front and we're gonna pour it out with a bucket, and we're just gonna pour it with enough section to work on it. Now remember, the longer you keep it in the bucket, the faster it's gonna cure. So In a perfect world, we would pour the whole thing down and we would go at it, but we don't want to do that in the van. We want to do step by step. Also, underneath here, we want to trowel it really well underneath this edge, so then when we go to flip it over and flip it on the other side, we've got a nice clean line that we can continue from. So we don't want to forget that. So inside this container, and open it up. It's got a little pull tab. Okay, when we open this up, we have our part B right here. Make sure it's sealed up. And then this is kind of like a seal that's separating both sides. That's what you need to have gloves. Make sure you have a whole box of gloves, nitro gloves that you can quickly grab, because we're going to use these and then we're going to change our gloves. Okay, I'm going to pull this out. All right. Looks pretty good. I'm going easy because I don't want to get any drips. Another good thing to have would be a trash can close by. Put a trash can right there. And before we change our gloves, we're going to go ahead and start our process. So I'm going to look on the camera, and we're going to wait just a minute because I'm going to start it right on the 7-minute mark. And while we're waiting on that, let's go ahead and just read the instructions one more time. So pour all of part B, which is this bottle, into part A. Allow enough time for the material to flow completely out of the container. Parts A and B are packaged to exact quantity ratios for proper curing. So always mix complete units. Do not add other materials to the mixture. Use mechanical mixer, slow speed. Allow it to mix thoroughly to achieve smooth, homogeneous mix. Avoid air entrapment, prolonged mixing. Pot life at 73 degrees, which is in this room right now, is approximately 30 minutes. It says do not mix more adhesive than can be used in a 30-minute period, but we're going to do the whole entire thing. Pour the adhesive onto the substrate, which is the floor, immediately after mixing, and spread using a trowel. Do not allow adhesive to sit in the container, and do not back roll the adhesive. Lay the flooring into the adhesive as it has been spread. Take care not to trap any air bubbles, and roll in both directions with a minimum 100-pound roller, 100-pound 3-section roller. Roll again 2 to 3 hours later. Allow no foot traffic for a period of 24 hours after installation and 72 hours for the adhesive to fully cure before setting heavy objects or furnishings. So, yeah, that is our plan. All right. So, let's get our bottle here. And we are just going to work off of the main bucket. I think what I did last time is I transferred it so that I would make sure I used half and half on the floor. So I actually may, let's see here. Let's see, so we've got, I'm gonna make a mark on the bucket just to indicate where our halfway point is. I'm just gonna scratch a little bit of the label here. So find halfway. And that way, we can kind of at a glance know, you know, how much we're using. All right, here we go. Let's check out our time on the clock. All right, it's 9 minutes and 55 seconds. Here we go, 10 minutes. Let's start mixing. Now remember, we're going to make sure that we just let this drain out of here. We need every last drop. So this is what I'm talking about with the working time. You know, we're already into a minute of the working time, but we haven't done anything. So we just need to make sure that we get all these drips out. Every last drip. Okay. And I'm going to close this up just for a second, because we need to start mixing. Go ahead and change my gloves. So hopefully I'll mention this later, but anywhere that when you pre-cut the floor out, if you have the floor come in too much and there's not just an eighth of an inch of an overhang, that's where we want to make sure we watch out for, because we don't want the epoxy oozing out, and then when we put our roller on there, the roller catches a little bit of it and then rolls it onto our brand new floor. So hopefully we will go over that later. I'm just going to do a quick pause, and it's the OCD part of me, but it's okay. We're going to double check to make sure that there wasn't anything left in our bottle here. So now it's had some time to drain. Let's see how much we got coming out. Okay. Yeah, so quite a bit. So as you remember before, that was still in there, so just set it aside, let it drain with upside down, and then when it gets to a point to where it's not dripping anymore, just like this, then you know you've got it all out. Take our trash can, put it in our trash can, and we don't need our gloves right now because we're just mixing. Let's check out our time. We've got, okay, coming up on 5 minutes. So this is not where I want it yet, so we're gonna keep mixing for about another minute. Okay. Let this drip off. Okay, and then I'm just gonna let this sit on the trash can because it's go time. All right, let that sit right there. Now don't worry about anything else. It's go time. We have mixed for 6 minutes. So we need to start troweling out epoxy right now because now we got about 7 minutes per side. Just double check your feet, make sure you're not bringing anything crazy into the van. And let's go ahead and start up here. All right, and this can drip on the floor, so don't worry about that. But we need to get this over here to start working it in these corners. And don't really worry if you feel like you're rushing right now. Take this first couple minutes and just get familiar with troweling this stuff out. Because if you've never done it before, you've never done it before. So. But definitely want to get these edges. Now we're gonna make sure we get it right on our, now we drew a line previously, and that line allowed us to see where the halfway point was, so it's just a marker line. Then when you start like you feel like you're running out, it's time to go ahead and get some more of your stuff. And in a perfect world, if this stuff is, if you can pour it out like I'm doing, big and open, that will allow it to not cure as fast, because the curing process is it's heating up. So if you can spread it out, it somewhat cools it, so the reaction it's not as fast. And also be mindful of what you're touching, if you're in the moment. If I'm touching this piece of plastic, you might be touching something you don't want to get epoxy on. So just be careful of that. If it goes over the edge, it's not the end of the world, as long as it's something that is not gonna be that big of a deal. And then where it settles, try to get these lumps out of it before you get too far that you can't come back. So I got some up here. Just easily even them out. Okay. Keep going. And I'm going to take this stuff all the way back to the back. Because again, what's happening is trying to get our time, make the most of our time. If you find that it's not sticking in places, you may need to bear down. Kind of smush it in, and then it'll create that bond with the surface. Okay, so now you got the hang of it. You do want to start working quicker. Trust me on this. So I can't see what time it is right now. I already know that I need to be speeding up my process. But I don't want to speed up enough to where I mess up and leave these big lumps. Because in about 2 minutes, I'm going to flip this over onto this other side. Now, what you're going to feel as time goes on is you're going to feel the epoxy start to thicken up. And that's why I keep talking about all this, about time. And one thing that would be good to mention is if you do have a side that thinks it's going to be tougher, like this side had a lot of different places, like cutouts and stuff like that, you may want that one to be the first one you do. trying to use what I have because I don't want to pour any more out onto the side here. Okay, so we're looking good. We're ready to roll. Let's get this inside corner. All right, good, good, good. Balance our trowel on the top of our jug. We're gonna start in the middle and make sure, let's take our gloves off. We don't want to get any epoxy on our new floor. Okay, so we're just gonna slowly move this over. And it's not going to super suck it down, so don't worry if it's not super exact. Because we're also going to roll it. Okay, there we go. So don't worry about that. We need to jump on this other side quickly. Next thing we need to do is take our screwdriver, get our screws out. They're helping us make everything straight. Now this is where my knee last time got into the epoxy. So, learn from my mistakes. But now we want to get this one out. These screws have done their job. And we want to move this back further than we had it. So we expose the epoxy that we just put down. All right, quickly get another set of gloves on. Check our time. We got 7 minutes. Look at that. See, I told you guys I haven't done this before. Okay, let's go ahead, pour this out. Pour it there. Then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pour it back here. And this is just gonna help us ever so slightly with our cure time. It's not gonna make a big of a difference, but it'll be better than nothing. All right. This is the best camera angle that I can do. I don't have anywhere to put the camera where I'm not bent over putting epoxy on the floor. So See, without the magic of editing, you guys get to see really how fun this is. Of course, this should be fun. If you guys are getting to the part where you're putting epoxy on the floor, I mean, your van build is going good. Okay. And just don't forget about the edges. You know, the edges are where the floor wants to curl up. I did not mention putting plastic down to mark areas off, you know, in case you had drips. I do have one drip on the back, but it's okay. I can take some denatured alcohol and I can get that off pretty quickly. But whatever you do, just let it sit and wait and come back for it. Don't mess anything up. Don't take a phone call. You gotta be into the timing on this. So what I'm doing now, I find that using the edge of the trowel, as you guys can see, it works better for me. I'm not sure why. You think the wider part would have been easier to work with, but I don't know, this is just the way I'm doing it. And remember, if you're getting high spots, go ahead and take care of those as you're coming backwards, because you're not going to be able to really come back. Just making sure I got these edges really good. So we got a big hole right here where we drilled through the floor to have all our wires come out. We want to make sure we have adhesive on there, but we don't want to get it all over the wires, because remember, when we come back through here to roll, it's going to squeeze all that adhesive up under the floor. Now that doesn't mean you can cheat and not put it down evenly, but you do want to get it to where it's all the way around the hole. Because when you mess with this epoxy, you'll smush it down on one side, and if it doesn't like that area, it'll actually kind of almost like it's like, I don't want to say like a waterproof, but if you imagine something's waterproof, the water kind of beads off. There'll be areas where the epoxy will kind of bead off. If you saw what I did right there, I'm just I need some extra epoxy, so I go and grab it from just that extra that I poured out. And then after we do this, remember, we're going to immediately roll this. And usually, when you're 3/4 of the way done, that's when the epoxy is really going to start setting up on you. So don't panic. It's just going to be a little bit harder to work with and trowel out. But you've come this far, so try not to rush it too much. One thing about this middle seam is you'll probably want to put a lot there, but you don't want to do that. You want to keep it as even as you've been doing the whole rest of the van. Yeah, so right now I can really feel this getting sticky. So this is kind of when the epoxy is doing its magic. It's turning into that adhesive. It's not really making it too easy to spread. And as you're coming back over to level things out, you may want to wipe your trowel off like I'm doing, so that you're not, holding that much epoxy on there, and you can actually level it out. Yeah, so right here, usually every time, this is right where the epoxy starts setting up on me. And I gotta keep on going. Can't really do anything about it except work faster in the beginning, but I'm not installing the floor every single day, so I still got to get back in the hang of it. So if you just saw me, what I did is I got that center transition the way I wanted it, and I'm kind of coming out from it. I mean, I would say do your own technique, but this worked really good for me. So maybe just keep it, especially if you're just doing one van. You can change it up when you do your second van. How about that? Remember, as we're getting towards the end, if there's any place that you feel like, I'm running into the camera. Oh. Hold on. If there's any place you feel like you need to get the bubbles out, now is definitely the time to do that. So you can see the stuff in the bucket. It's barely coming out. All right, let's see if that's going to be enough for me to finish the floor out here. I'm going to focus on the edges first, and then I'll do the rest of the floor.
My edges include the center part. Now this black hole right here, this is our lift for our spare tire. Typically, when you're doing a van build like this, you've upgraded the tires and you're no longer working with a factory tire size, so you no longer need it. However, in the event, for some reason, in the future, you wanted to go back to a tire size, you need to know the location of that, you know, kind of where it's at. And all this is going to be covered by the top layer. There's a marking, and I took photos that'll go in the owner's manual that I create, and it lets you know the exact location of this hole. So when you come back to find it when you need to, you'll be able to locate it. All right, so we're just getting our excess over here to make sure we don't have bumps. The roller will take out some minimal bumps. Don't rely on the roller to take out everything that you've not made sure is level. Okay. All right, so we proportion that perfectly. So now we're just going to go on this end. Make sure it is very good. Because one, it's the back of the van, but two, we just want to make sure we do a good job. All right, so I'm just coming around here. Anything I think I missed, just leveling out. I can't take too much of my time. There we go. We got one more little spot. Okay. All right, guys, that's it. We can't touch this anymore. We have to roll it right now. Take our gloves off. Make sure we didn't step in any epoxy. I'm gonna roll it over nice and easy. And then we're gonna get our big roller. So just in case, I'm going to take these shoes off. But we know we don't have any epoxy we may have stepped on. All right, so we're gonna do this back first. Seems like it wants to go down first. And then we'll come back up for the front. And watch where everything's going. This shower pan, we wanna make sure it's not kind of cupping that edge like that. Kind of lift this up. All right, coming down this side. All right. So what we can do, we'll just use some lightweight and get this tacked down so it doesn't shift on us. It's not really going to shift too much. Then we're going to get the roller. We're going to start on the inside, go to the outside. And trust me, you will be crazy sweaty after you do this. All right, how are we on time? All right, we are 9 minutes past, so it is possible that you're going to get a little bit of extra time. All right, so there is a spot of epoxy on the floor. I need to make sure that I don't touch that. All right, I'm gonna bring our 100-pound roller in on the side door. Now, let's start rolling this out. that's pretty much it. What we'll do in probably 2-3 hours, like it says, we'll come back through, we'll roll it one more time, and that's it. Then it needs to set up for 24 hours minimum. If you're going to start putting weight on it, like installing your battery system, furniture and stuff, you really need to wait, 3 days. Sounds like a lot, but let this thing set up, do its thing, and you're really going to enjoy it. And it went really well. There was a little bit of air right here that I heard come out, and that's it. Everything else is perfect. What you may notice is, now that it's down, that there may be a shift in an area. So for example, over here, I've got a little bit of a shift. Once it got pushed down, it actually came over just a bit. And so the back is up. I mean, it's like 1/8 of an inch, but just know that that might be something for you to look out for when you're doing your flooring. Is it might actually shift. So yeah, just be cognizant of that. And yeah, that's where we're at. We will re-roll, and then that'll be it for this install. But yeah, if you guys have any questions on installing a Lonseal flooring that was not covered in this video, we pretty much did everything A to Z. But if you do have a question, make sure you put that in the comment section below. Don't forget to check out our DIY van build cheat sheet. It's a list of all the products I bought off of Amazon over the past 3 years, the stuff that I use in the shop. It's a free download. It's just there to help you guys out. If you have any question with tools, stuff that I use for doing stuff like this, it's there completely help you guys out. It's a nice organized list. It goes over electronics, heating, insulation, fasteners, and tools. The tools is an excellent section. All the tools you see me use in the shop, most of them are on that list. The list is always growing, so it's a living document. It'll be updated throughout its life. Right now we got about over 250 items on the list with all the links to Amazon. Those links do help out the channel, so we really do appreciate it. But other than that, that's it for this video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like this video if you enjoyed it, and then share it to anyone who may need help with doing their DIY build. We've got a ton of other videos. Go ahead and check them out. And until then, I'll see you guys on the next video.